Do you want to hear something uncomfortable, something you've probably felt but never dared to admit? Rejection, the one thing you try so hard to avoid, is not your enemy. It is your greatest ally. And no, this is not some shallow attempt at motivation. Rejection burns, it stings, it leaves scars, but more importantly, it wakes you up. It forces you to confront the parts of yourself that you've been too afraid to acknowledge. Why does rejection hurt so much? Because it is never just about the other person, it is about you. Every time you feel that sting of being ignored, dismissed, or pushed away, it is your own insecurities that are being triggered. Carl Jung once said, "Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to a deeper understanding of ourselves." Think about it. What aspect of yourself feels most exposed when you're rejected? What wound does it touch? Rejection doesn't just happen randomly. It arrives precisely when you need to wake up and evolve. Most people live their lives desperately seeking approval. They shape their personalities to fit expectations, adjusting their behavior to win validation from people who, in reality, are just as lost as they are. But here's the truth that no one wants to face. The more you chase approval, the more it eludes you. The moment you base your worth on external validation, you become fragile, dependent, and easy to manipulate. It is only when you stop needing acceptance that you become truly magnetic. Think about the most compelling people you know, the ones who carry a quiet confidence, an undeniable presence. What do they all have in common? They don't beg for attention, they don't seek approval, they choose themselves, and that choice radiates strength. This is the paradox of attraction. The less you need, the more you receive. The moment you stop fearing rejection and start embracing your own value, everything changes. The question is, are you ready to face that truth? Rejection isn't just a passing moment of discomfort, it cuts deeper, leaving an imprint on the way we see ourselves. It doesn't just whisper doubts, it amplifies them, dragging buried insecurities to the surface. When someone turns us down, ignores us, or walks away, our first instinct is to think, what's wrong with me? This is where rejection gains its power. It forces us to confront parts of ourselves that we'd rather keep hidden. But here's the real mystery. Rejection itself isn't the problem. The real issue lies in what it exposes. Carl Jung's theory of the shadow self explains that every human carries unresolved emotions, unacknowledged fears, and insecurities that lurk beneath the surface. And rejection, it's like a mirror reflecting those hidden shadows back at us. That's why it hurts so much. It's not just about losing an opportunity, a relationship, or someone's approval. It's about being confronted with the parts of ourselves we've spent a lifetime avoiding. Now here's where things get interesting. Have you ever noticed that the more you chase someone's approval, the more they pull away? The harder you try to be accepted, the more rejection seems to follow? This isn't a coincidence. The human mind instinctively rejects desperation. It senses neediness like a warning signal. People are drawn to those who don't seek validation because confidence, real confidence, comes from within, not from external approval. So why do we give rejection so much power? Because we mistakenly believe that acceptance from others will finally make us feel enough. But that's a lie we tell ourselves. If external validation could truly fulfill us, then people who receive constant praise would never feel insecure. Yet even the most admired celebrities, the most successful individuals, still battle with self-doubt. Why? Because true self-worth doesn't come from how others see us. It comes from how we see ourselves. Rejection is painful, but it is also revealing. It strips away illusions and forces us to ask the hard questions. Why do I crave acceptance so much? What part of me still feels unworthy? It's in answering these questions, in facing our own shadows, that we unlock real strength. The problem isn't rejection itself. The problem is how we let it define us. What if I told you that rejection isn't meant to break you, but to build you? That every no you've ever received was actually an invitation, not to shrink, but to evolve. The truth is, rejection is not a dead end, it's a doorway. And on the other side of that door is the strongest, most resilient version of yourself, if you're willing to walk through it. Most people react to rejection in one of two ways. They either crumble under its weight, allowing it to reinforce their fears of inadequacy, or they become bitter, shutting themselves off from the world. But there's a third path, the path of transformation. Rejection only has power over you if you resist it. The moment you embrace it, something incredible happens. It stops controlling you. Think about it. The most confident, magnetic people aren't the ones who have never faced rejection. They're the ones who have mastered it. They've learned to detach their self-worth from external validation. They don't beg for approval. And paradoxically, that's what makes them so compelling. It's called the paradox of detachment. The less you need acceptance, the more you attract it. Why? Because people are drawn to those who radiate self-sufficiency, to those who stand firm in their own worth without constantly seeking reassurance. Carl Jung called this process individuation, the integration of all your fragmented, rejected parts into a whole. It's about facing the aspects of yourself that you've ignored, denied, or buried, and choosing to own them rather than be ruled by them. When you stop running from your flaws, they lose their ability to control you. When you stop trying to be what others want, you finally become who you were meant to be. Look at the most influential figures in history. Artists, thinkers, leaders. They all have one thing in common. At some point, they were rejected. Their ideas were dismissed, their work was criticized, their dreams were laughed at. But instead of letting rejection define them, they used it as fuel. They understood something most people never realize. Rejection isn't an obstacle, it's a test of how much you truly believe in yourself. So the next time you face rejection, don't ask, why me? Instead ask, what is this trying to teach me? Because the truth is, rejection is not about them, it's about you. And once you understand that, once you stop fearing rejection and start embracing it, you become unstoppable. If there is one truth that most people never realize, it's this. Rejection is not the end, it's the beginning. Every moment of rejection you've ever faced, whether from a job, a relationship, or society, is a message, a signal pointing you towards something greater. But here's the catch. Most people never listen. They let rejection define them instead of refine them. They allow it to close doors instead of recognizing that it was never their door to begin with. But what if you shifted your mindset? What if, instead of fearing rejection, you started seeing it as a tool for self-discovery? Because that's exactly what it is. Rejection forces you to ask, who am I without approval? What do I truly want? These are the questions that most people avoid their entire lives. But the ones who dare to answer them, the ones who dare to walk their own path, regardless of who follows, are the ones who become truly unstoppable. When you no longer fear rejection, something incredible happens. You start living on your own terms. You stop making decisions based on what will make you more likable or accepted, and instead, you start choosing what is right for you. This is where true power lies. This is where authenticity is born. Look around. The people who change the world, the ones who command respect, the ones who are truly magnetic, none of them are obsessed with being liked. They aren't bending themselves to fit into someone else's expectations. Instead, they stand firm in who they are. And that certainty, that unshakable belief in their own worth, is what draws people to them. Because here's the final paradox. The moment you stop seeking approval, you become more attractive. The moment you stop fearing rejection, you become more powerful, and the moment you choose yourself fully, unapologetically, the world starts to take notice. So ask yourself, what kind of life would you live if rejection no longer had power over you? Because that life, the one where you are free, independent, and untouchable by external opinions, is waiting for you. The only thing standing in your way is the fear of letting go. But once you do, you'll realize something life-changing. You never needed approval in the first place. You were always enough. You just had to remember it.